We are here on NBC Sports on Peacock. We're part of the Peacock family. You can watch The Office here on Peacock. And then speaking of The Office, the man who played Andy Bernard for all of those years, he and Randall Park together are in a fun new show called True Story with Ed and Randall, available now on Peacock. Joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show is the man himself, Ed Helms. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing better for talking to you. I'm a very big fan of your work. Very big fan.
Thank you so much. I think we've been trying to get this. We've been trying to get on this show for we've scheduled it, and I feel like it's been a saga, but I'm very glad to be here.
I am very glad that it is all done because look, we were all rowing in the same Peacock direction. We're on the same boat, and we're trying to all row for more streaming and more downloads for everybody. You know.
Amen.
There's an I in Rich and on Eisen, but I'm a team player. And again, this show that you're doing, I love the idea. So again, you and Randall Park are sitting there and hearing a story for the first time that is a true story. And I love the first story here, especially since it does play into the sports conversation that we do have here every day. So I'll give you the floor. Tell me about Rick Steigerwald and how this plays into your show, your first guest, Ed.
Great. So he's completely insane. But I'll start with just a little recap of the premise so people kind of understand what the show is. It's like it's kind of a hybrid reality / scripted show where Randall Park and I sit down with just a real everyday average person who happens to have an incredible, crazy, true story from their lives. We sit down with them. Randall and I have never heard the story before. We have a sort of like a back and forth. Just we interview them and hear the story from them, and then which is incredibly fun and would be a great show on its own. But then we actually go and shoot these big reenactments, kind of like cinematic reenactments of the story, and that gets kind of intercut with the interview for the final product. And it's it's an incredibly funny show, but because the stories are true and because these people are being so vulnerable and sharing these stories with us, it's also very kind of heartwarming and uplifting at times. And, it just celebrates that lost art of laughing at ourselves. Yes. Like people like telling stories that are oftentimes embarrassing or humiliating in some way, but just with a great sense of humor and kind of like humility. So that's what the show is. Our first episode is this guy you mentioned, Rick Steigerwald, and he is like if I met him in a bar somewhere, I'd be like, this guy's a con man. It's like nothing he says is true.
But it's a true story. It's a true story.
But it is it has been completely fact checked. His entire story checks out, and what it is he. In the 70s, he was a welder in Pittsburgh, Steeltown, USA, and of course, just a diehard Steelers fan, as the whole city is. But in the late 70s, I think it was 79, was Terry Bradshaw taking the Steelers to the Super Bowl in Miami, and he and his brothers, who were around 20 something at the time, and just the most raucous, rabble-rousing crew, rent a Winnebago, drive down to Miami for the Super Bowl and sneak in. And that is the least crazy part of the story. That's literally that's where the story begins. And from there, it just goes even more and more bananas, and it's so fun. And he is such an incredible character. Like, he's just he's incredibly charming and hilarious, and you just can't believe he's real and that these stories are real.
Well, I mean, and the best part about it, I don't mean to steal too much thunder, because there's enough thunder to go around from his story. He winds up showering with the team. He winds up not only going to the game, but getting his way into the locker room after the game and stripping down naked and showering with the team. That literally happened. Ed, for real?
Yeah. So spoiler alert. Yeah, he he basically is a guy who just will stop at nothing to do whatever's crazier than, like, he'll just take a crazier step every time. So they're sitting in the stands. They get into the game. They're sitting in the stands, and his buddy's like, hey, let's try to get the game ball. And he's like, okay. Like, sneaks onto the field, and he's on the field at the end of the game, and of course everyone's rushing the field. He sees the team heading back for the locker room. He's like, I'll just go in the locker room because I want to hang out with the Steelers. And so he pretends to be a camera assistant or something, makes his way into the locker room.
Oh my God!
And then someone. I mean, I don't want to spoil too much because yes, but it does wind up with him in the shower. And if you ask him, like, why did you take a shower with the team? It's like, the answer is as simple as, because it's insane.
Yes.
And it was fun.
It sounds like the worst White Shadow episode ever, Ed.
Yeah,
oh my God.
He's the best. He's just sort of one of those guys that you want to hang out with and just hear about his life.
And then the reenactment includes Bradshaw. You got Terry.
We
to
got
do this.
Terry. Yeah. So I did a movie with Terry a couple of years ago, and I don't know if you know him at all, but he's just the most incredible, wonderful human being.
He is who you think he is. Who you think he is. When you see him, that is him. That is him. Yes.
100%.
Right.
And I called him. I said, we're doing this thing. This guy actually met you back in '79, and we want to reenact it. Do you want to be a part of it? And he's like, hell yeah, of course. So Terry's in it, and Adam Pally, who's the great, just an amazing, hilarious actor. He plays Rick, young Rick, and it's so fun. It's just so fun.
Well, I am mandated, Ed Helms, to follow up and just button it up, I guess, with this question is, because, again, the fact that you're a newbie to the story, too, that you're hearing it as well for the first time, along with Randall Park and the show, again, True Story with Ed and Randall on Peacock, here with Ed Helms. Did you inform Terry that he showered with a perfect stranger after the Super Bowl? Was he aware of this story himself, Ed? Did you break this news to him?
I guess so. I don't know who was in the actual shower while Rick was, but yeah, basically, I mean, he was in the locker room.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
And,
did you know?
I really wanted to. I have to tell you one more amazing detail.
By the way, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if I'm forcing you into spoilers. I know that's not. I want people. Okay, good. All right.
No, I can't help myself. Okay. Like, I shouldn't say this stuff, but hopefully, the more crazy stuff I tell you, the more people will want to see it.
Bees to honey. Yes.
He at one point, a reporter thinks that Rick is a Steeler and starts to interview him, and he just does the interview.
What?
Does this video exist? Does it?
I don't know that that's findable.
Oh God.
But it is so priceless. But here's what does exist for sure. There were articles in the Miami Herald or some local paper about a guy who snuck into the locker room and interacted with everybody before he got kicked out.
Oh my God.
So it's true. It's all true.
Wow. True Story with Ed and Randall on Peacock. You got to check it out. And then there's some other great stories of some other regular people. I guess the only thing missing from this story is Mr. Chow hopping out of the trunk of the Winnebago. Ed, you know what I'm saying? You know, that's my trick.
What I try to do is mix up all of my all of my stuff.
Mix them all up.
An Andy Bernard appearance.
You know what? That's next level. That was also my way to transition. A couple of questions about this. What's your true story about Mike Tyson? What do you got for me about your experience with Mike on the set of The Hangover? If you had a true story about Mike, that's not to be believed. You got a good one about it?
Well, he was in both. He was in both Hangover 1 and Hangover 2.
Yes, sir.
And in Hangover 2, of course, I have his tattoo. And I'm not sure that I don't know if he totally had read the script or was briefed on the script exactly before he got to Thailand to shoot with us. But when I walked out with his tattoo on my face for the first day of shooting with him, he looked so pissed.
Oh.
And I was terrified. And then there was like 10 minutes of just like really intense tension. And then he just breaks out with his like huge laugh.
Oh, thank God.
And, and I was like, oh my God, yes, okay. Mike was just messing with me, and rightfully so. And we had a great time shooting again.
Well, he came on this show years ago when I had to sometimes, because we're on radio, not to get too deep in the woods here, but I would have to take a break in the middle of long interviews just for the radio audience. And so it was up to me. It was my, I guess, prerogative when to take that over a certain period of time. And I knew I would have to take a break in the interview that I had with Mike sitting here. So I asked him at one point, I said, hey, if I could get you back in the ring, how many rounds could you go, like now at this age? And he says to me, I don't like to think about that because when I think about boxing, it puts me in a very dark place. At which point I'm like, well, we'll be right back. That's when I took the break.
Oh, man.
That's when I'm like, okay, I'm going to take that break now, and then we'll reset and come back.
Yeah, we'll refresh.
Now, when he hit you in the movie, like, did he come close? I mean, like, what happened there?
So that's a common misconception. He actually hit Zach in the movie.
So he did not hit you in the film. Okay. Right.
And it was the stunt guy comes and like sort of shows you exactly how to do those big punch moments, and like he's showing Mike, but Mike's the real deal. So like he's not necessarily going to respond perfectly to like somebody teaching him a specific way to punch. Like he just has those reflexes, and when Zach goes down from that fake punch, there was a split second where I was like, did that land? Oh my God. Did that land? Are we going to have to call an ambulance?
Oh my word.
Yeah. It's
and is it
he's incredible.
Is it true? Did you ad-lib the song at the piano with the chicken about Doug? Was that off the top of your head in The Hangover? Ed?
It was. I wrote it that day, but I didn't ad-lib it in the moment. Well, I wish I were that brilliant.
Okay,
but I'm not.
Now, how many takes did you at any point in time during the filming of that scene realize that you were in fact playing with a chicken on your piano, Ed, and the absurdity of it? Did you get caught in that, or can you focus? Like
I'm a really intense actor, Rich, and so I didn't allow myself to explore the absurdity. I just had to play the reality of the moment.
Understood.
And
you're a professional. I didn't mean to besmirch. I didn't mean to think that you
how
couldn't.
Dare you
my apologies, because I just think it's just everybody just sitting around and it's such a poignant moment. And there's a chicken on the piano, and you.
I will tell you, there were so many times shooting that movie that we just could not stop laughing for any number of reasons. Whether it was like something in the script or something that was happening off camera, or just one of us messing with the other. Like it just the making of that movie was one of the greatest times of my life, and I just remember it so fondly, and I think that's a big part of the appeal of the movie, honestly, is just how much fun we were having making it, and that somehow sort of comes across.
Well, it certainly does, in my estimation, Ed, and this is not hyperbole because you're here either, but the final scene of that film where you take a look at what's in the camera is truly one of the funniest, greatest endings in the history of movies. It really is. I mean, what a payoff, what a finish. And I'm wondering, did you shoot those shots during the filming of it in real time? Like, did you like say, okay, this is going to be for the camera shot at the end? Is that how you guys actually did that?
Yes.
For The Hangover?
Yeah. So there are, it's a mix. There are pictures in that final credit sequence that are sort of like additional moments from scenes in the movie.
Uh-huh.
So, and for those, like when we would shoot a scene, Todd, the director, would say like, okay, let's get some stills for the credits. But then there are a bunch of those photos that are just complete surprises, like me in a fist fight with Wayne Newton, or the scene where I'm pulling my tooth out. You don't ever see any of that stuff in the body of the movie. So those were things that we scheduled and had to go out and shoot just as stills for the credits.
Who could take a punch more, Wayne Newton or Zach Galifianakis? Who could take a punch better? What do you got for me?
Well, I think Wayne was. I can't remember. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I think Wayne was kind of kicking my ass.
Oh, right. My bad. My bad. That's another common misconception.
Yeah.
Oh my God, just amazing, man. And I would be remiss, certainly, since you can see everything on Peacock, if I did not ask you before I let you go, your favorite scene in The Office that you were involved in, one that you're particularly fond of, proud of, anything on that front.
Man,
Ed.
It's really hard to pick.
I bet.
There were so many fun ones, but I think the scene, one of the scenes that sticks with me a lot, because it was one of the most exciting things for me to shoot, was when Andy arrives at Dunder Mifflin for the first time, or he arrives in the Scranton branch for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of like figured out that he wants to like mimic and mirror Michael Scott as a sort of way to get in his good graces. And that first episode where he's trying to kind of butter up Michael Scott, those were my first scenes working with Steve, and he's just so incredible and so funny. And I just remember that first episode of being in Scranton as like, oh wow, this is so cool. I'm just so excited to be here. And it was the first time I really understood how unfathomably funny Steve Carrell is. Like, when you're in the same space with him, I had such a hard time keeping from breaking with him. And over the years, it never got easier. And I wound up developing a trick, which somebody told me this is something that I think a lot of actors use when they have to try not to laugh. I would rarely look Steve in the eye during a scene. I would usually be looking at his chin or his ear or like some neutral spot, so that I wasn't actually feeling the just like tsunami of comedy coming at me, because I would be laughing too hard.
I love that. That's a great true story right there. Thanks for the time, Ed. Like I said, big fan. I could go on and on like this for a long time. I appreciate you coming on here, right here on Peacock, True Story with Ed and Randall.
Yeah, right on. I'm really glad to be here, Rich. I would love to be back soon.
Excellent.
And thanks for having me.
Anytime, man. At Ed Helms on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks again. You go forth, and I can't wait to see more of your show. Thank you for being here.
Right on.
You got it. That's Ed Helms, everybody, right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.